entitled Mom Loses It After Her Son Discovers My Daughter's Brand New Bike in Our Yard. Just a heads up, I'm writing this on my phone, so please excuse any typos. Also, English isn't my first language. Wow, thanks for the Platinum Award, and thank you for the silver and gold too. To answer some common questions, yes, I'm the dad in this story. We had a delicious dinner of sausage with peas, carrots, and potatoes. Yes, men can cook. Don't worry, the bike is now securely locked up and never left unattended outside. And yes, I made sure to get a photo of the serial number just in case. So, a bit of backstory. I'm a single dad to an amazing little girl who will be 5 in August. The last year has been a nightmare, dealing with my ex who tried to keep my daughter from me. Legal battles are expensive, and being a single parent definitely doesn't help the wallet. But after months of stress, I finally won the custody case, and my daughter is back home with me full time. For weeks, all she's been asking for is a bike, but with the lingering legal bills, it just wasn't in the budget. Then, last week my summer bonus came through, finally giving me some breathing room financially. So yesterday I was finally able to surprise my little girl with the bicycle she'd been dreaming of. We had such a wonderful afternoon riding around together, but eventually it was time to head home and make dinner. We parked our bikes in the backyard and went inside to start cooking. About 10 minutes later, I caught a flicker of movement through the kitchen window, the one facing the side yard. I saw this kid, maybe 6 or 7 years old, just casually walking off with my daughter's brand new bike. My stomach dropped and I raced to the front door, hoping to catch him before he got away. Luckily I did. I snatched the bike back from him, completely losing my cool. I told him in no uncertain terms that it was ours, and he had absolutely no right to come into our backyard and steal things. I was furious. I made him leave our property immediately and put the bike just inside our front door, thinking that was the end of it. Oh, how wrong I was. After calming down my poor daughter, who was terrified because she'd never seen me so angry, I went back to the kitchen to try and finish making dinner. 15 minutes later, the doorbell rings, and guess who's standing there? The kid and his lovely mother. "Em, you need to give my son back that bike. He found it. It's his now." Me. "He found it in my backyard. I literally just bought it for my daughter today. Maybe you should teach your kid some manners, and that he can't just wander onto other people's property and take their things. EM, don't you dare tell me how to raise my child. Give me the bike back right now or I'm calling the police." Me, laughing, "Go right ahead and call them." And with that I slammed the door in her face. By this point my poor 4-year-old is in tears again, thinking she's about to lose her brand new bike. After more comforting and reassurance, I finally managed to get back to cooking dinner. Just as I finished prepping everything and was about to put it on the stove, the doorbell rings again. I completely lost it. I stormed to the door, yanked it open, ready to unleash a verbal explosion on this woman. And wouldn't you know it, she actually did call the police. I instantly calmed down when I saw the officers and invited one of them inside, while the other stayed with the entitled mother. I explained the whole ridiculous situation, showed him the bike box and the receipt with my name on it. The officer just kinda shrugged, apologized for the trouble, and assured me we wouldn't be bothered again. I let him out and closed the door, a smug smile creeping across my face. I peeked through the front window to see what was happening, and I watched her throw an absolute tantrum. The grand finale? She ended up in handcuffs in the back of a patrol car. Bye, Felicia. No idea what happened to her after that, and honestly, I don't care. I finally finished making dinner and my daughter still has her bike. That's all that matters in the end. Boy, what a day. Can you believe the audacity? Wandering into someone's yard and claiming a brand new bike, and then calling the police, for real? If you want more crazy parent stories, hit that subscribe button right now. Entitled Mom Brands Me an office slut for my swimsuit at the surf school where I work. I was just mentioning this briefly in a comment on another post, but people seemed interested in hearing the whole story, so here it is. I work as a surf instructor at a surf school right on the beach. It was the end of a long day. I had just finished teaching 5-hour-long classes back to back and was completely covered in seawater and sand. All I wanted to do was get out of my wetsuit and maybe take a quick dip in the ocean before heading home. I was in the surf shack with 3 of my coworkers. Let's call them Sam, Joe, and Mick. Names changed, but Sam's real name is also gender neutral. I sent a text to my boyfriend who replied that he was about 5 minutes away. I had already finished my part of the closing duties, so while Sam put up the close sign and locked the filing cabinet, and Joe and Mick were sorting out the wetsuits and putting the surfboards back in their racks, I slipped away to the changing area to peel off my wetsuit. I had just gotten down to my tankini when I heard a loud, grating American voice. Excuse me? Hello? Is anyone going to help me?" Seeing that the guys were still busy with closing up, I quickly threw on my skirt and went to the front counter. This entitled mom didn't look like your typical Karen. She had long tanned hair, was wearing a bikini under a large floppy sun hat, and had a sarong tied around her waist. Her daughter was with her, looking like a mini version of her mom, probably around 10 to 12 years old. The daughter didn't say a single word during the whole encounter, so I have no idea if she was entitled or not. Me, hi there, can I help you with something? EM, yes, you can start by putting some proper clothes on. Now my tankini provides pretty much the same coverage as a one-piece swimsuit, except for a little strip of skin showing at my waist, okay? Maybe the neckline is a bit low, but this woman is standing there in a bikini showing way more skin than I am. Me, activating my best customer service voice. I am very sorry, ma'am. Sam, could you please toss me my shirt? Sam throws my tank top at me and I quickly pull it on. Is this better? EM, not really. Is there someone else who can assist us? Me, I apologize, but my coworkers are a bit occupied at the moment. We are just closing up for the day. Fine. I want to sign my daughter up for surf lessons for tomorrow. I began explaining our available lesson times, pricing, and any requirements for signing up. As I was talking, I was using my hands to gesture and leaning over the counter to point out details on the sign-up sheet. EM, interrupting me rudely. Excuse me, but don't you have a sweatshirt or something you could put on? Keep in mind, this is the middle of summer during a heat wave and we are on a beach. Me, desperately clinging to my customer service smile because I'm still technically on the clock. I'm sorry, no, I don't have another shirt with me. Would you like me to continue with the sign-up information? EM, is there absolutely no one else I can speak to? You are making my daughter feel very uncomfortable. Me, finally giving up on being polite. Well, you are making me feel uncomfortable. It's summertime, we're on a beach, it's incredibly hot. I don't have another shirt here. Everything that needs to be covered is covered, and with all due respect, you are actually wearing less clothing than I am. Sam, who was wearing a t-shirt and denim shorts, overheard everything and recognized my tone, my I'm about to lose it tone. He looked at me, I gave him a subtle nod, and he jumped in to help. Sam, I'd be happy to assist you, ma'am. My name is Sam. OP, why don't you go ahead and... EM, Sam is a guy? Sam, last time I checked. EM, I thought you were a girl. Sam, sorry to disappoint you. EM, turning back to me. Do you really think it's appropriate to walk around practically naked when there's a young man nearby? Then to Sam, you should report her to HR for this, Sam. It's a beach. People walk around it much less all the time. EM, repeating like a broken record. It's still inappropriate. Sam, you are wearing a bikini. EM, but I'm not working, she is. Me, do you even realize this is a surf school? Mick and Joe, hearing the commotion, came over. EM hadn't been yelling or raising her voice, but they could definitely sense the escalating tension and decided to intervene just in case. Mick and Joe were both wearing board shorts and flip-flops, no shirts. Mick stepping up beside me, is there an issue here? Joe, right behind Mick, is everything alright? Can we help? EM's eyes widened in shock. She looked back and forth between me and the three guys, completely taken aback and horrified. EM trying to regain her composure. I was just saying that she was just telling me to put more clothes on. Mick, you do know this is a beach, right? If anything, she's overdressed for this place. EM could see she wasn't going to convince me to magically produce more clothing, and you could tell from her expression she knew the guys weren't going to side with her either. Then a truly brilliant thought seemed to dawn on her, like a brick falling on her head. Just what were you four doing back there? Joe, closing up for the day. Don't think I'm stupid. Oh, I really beg to differ on that point. You're seriously trying to tell me that she answered the door practically naked and all of you guys are barely dressed but nothing inappropriate is going on back there? Mick, jokingly, OP, we've told you before not to answer the door naked. I couldn't help but laugh. Don't you dare laugh at me, you little whore. I know exactly what's going on here, you perverts. Sam, who was openly gay, just completely lost it and burst into uncontrollable laughter, doubling over. EM's daughter looked mortified, her face bright red as she hid it in her hands. Sam, you actually think that? He trailed off, unable to speak through his laughter. Oh sure, everyone always protects the office slut. Joe literally collapsed to the floor, clutching his stomach and laughing hysterically. Mick, yeah, well if you don't mind, we're in the middle of an orgy here, so either join in or get out. Just then, my boyfriend arrived. Boyfriend, seeing me, Joe, Sam, and Mick doubled over with laughter. EM looking murderous and her daughter bright red and hiding her face. Is everything okay here? My boyfriend came over and gave me a hug, and I had a brilliant spur-of-the-moment idea. I pulled him in for a kiss right in front of EM. EM let out an ear-splitting screech, a truly demonic sound that probably only dogs could hear, then stomped off, dragging her poor, embarrassed daughter behind her, and that was the last we ever saw or heard from her. Entitled Mom Freaks Out Because I Treat My Adult Children Like Adults. Quick note, I'm writing this on my phone, so please excuse any typos. English is my first language, but feel free to point out any grammatical errors. Let me give you a little background first. I have 2 young adult children, ages 18 and 19, living at home. They both have jobs and are in college. I trust my kids completely, and I trust their judgment. When they graduated high school and turned 18, we established some new house rules. No curfew. They just need to call or text if they'll be out all night, so I don't worry. They can call me anytime for a ride, no questions asked. Just don't be foolish and drink and drive. Yes, their significant others are welcome to sleep over or stay for the weekend. Just keep me in the loop. They pay a small rent during the summer when they're working full time and contribute to the car insurance. We have a chore system. We all pitch in. We communicate openly. I tell them if they're being unreasonable, and they listen, and in turn, I listen to them. There's very little drama or arguing in our house. I believe this is their time to learn to spread their wings, become responsible adults, while still having a safety net at home. Recently, one of my kids' partners has been spending a lot of time at our house. He's practically here all the time. 2 days ago, I received a call from an unknown number, and it turned out to be my daughter's boyfriend's mother. Let's call me and her EM for entitled mom. Me, hello? You need to tell my son he's not allowed at your house anymore. Me, excuse me, who is this? This is Tommy's mother. Me, oh boy, here we go. Oh, Tommy's mom. You know, I have to say, you've raised a wonderful son. He's always so polite and respectful. In fact, look, I don't care what you think about my son. He's never home. He's not spending any time with me. Me, okay, well, there's really not much I can do about that. Yes there is. Tell him he can't come to your house anymore. I want him home. And you're setting a terrible example for my son. Your daughter has no curfew, and I'm sick and tired of hearing how nice it is at your house. I miss him and want him home. Me speaking very calmly and deliberately into the phone. Are you finished yelling at me now? I think my calm tone shocked her into silence. Me, I'll take that as a yes. Do you trust the way you raised your son? What? Me, it's a simple question. Do you trust the way you raised your son? Of course I do. What does that have to do with anything? Me, do you trust him to make good decisions? Yes. Yes, of course. She's starting to calm down a bit now. Me, mother to mother, I have a feeling things might not be so great at your house right now. I knew her husband had a drinking problem. I'm just trying to provide your son with a safe and comfortable place to be when things are difficult at home. She started to interrupt me, but I didn't let her. It's not your fault, you know. And me. He sometimes kicks your son out for days at a time, doesn't he? Yet, I could hear her starting to cry. Me, would you like someone to talk to? Maybe we could go out for lunch sometime. That way you might feel a bit better knowing where your son is and that he's safe. That would be okay. We ended up talking on the phone for almost an hour after that initial outburst. What started as an entitled mom situation turned out to be a conversation with a scared and incredibly lonely woman. So no dramatic confrontation or satisfying revenge in this story, but I think it turned out alright in the end. I'm even thinking of suggesting to Tommy that maybe his curfew at his mom's could be extended from 10 p.m. to midnight, and perhaps he could even stay over for a weekend sometime. It's amazing how much attention this post got overnight. Thank you for the platinum, gold, and silver awards. I'll try my best to respond to all the messages. And to those saying my post is fake, I had a lot of background information about what was happening at Tommy's house before this phone call. And honestly, I've been through some tough times myself with abusive relationships, so I recognize how difficult it can be. Plot twist. This entitled parent story actually has a heart. Good on OP for showing compassion. Entitled family friends tried to force me into a relationship with their son and ruined my life when I refused. This whole ordeal happened about 10 years ago and unfolded during the absolute worst months of my life. I had just turned 18, and thanks to my mother's gambling problem, we lost the house I'd grown up in. Almost immediately after losing our home, a family friend offered to let us stay with her family, as they had some extra space in their large house. We moved into their massive house, and initially things seemed okay. The family consisted of the entitled parents, EPs, and their entitled kid, EK, who was the same age as me. At first, they were all understanding and kind, offering to let my mom and me stay as long as we needed to get back on our feet. The entitled mother, EM, even helped me get my very first job volunteering at a bingo hall. It was under the table money, but I didn't care. It was income that my mom couldn't or wouldn't provide. The EPs had been family friends for years and were completely obsessed with the idea of EK and me becoming a couple, and had been since we were kids. They constantly made comments like, "Look at the beautiful couple, you two look so great together," or "We'll give you lovebirds some privacy," whenever EK and I were in the same room. Despite me repeatedly saying I wasn't interested in him romantically, they were determined to play matchmaker like it was some kind of arranged marriage situation. I think their persistence really inflated EK's ego, because about a month into our stay, the first incident occurred. EK and I were walking down the hallway when he suddenly smacked my behind out of nowhere. I completely lost it and went off on him, yelling, cursing, and shoving him. Our parents came upstairs to see what all the commotion was about, and we were separated. I told my mom what happened, and her response was to tell me it wasn't a big deal and to not make waves since we were living there for free. EK eventually gave me a half-hearted apology at dinner, and his dad made a joke about how he was relieved EK was finally showing interest in girls, as they were starting to think he might be gay. Things just continued to escalate from there. Every chance EK got, he would make inappropriate comments or find a way to grope me. Every time I complained to his parents, it was always brushed off with excuses like boys will be boys, or he probably didn't mean it that way, and that EK was actually a really sweet guy deep down and I should try to get to know him better. On one occasion, the EM actually told me I should be flattered by his attention. My own mother was content to do absolutely nothing, too busy enjoying the free lodging and using it to fuel her gambling addiction. She even told me to stop playing hard to get. Then one day, EK put his hand down my shirt while I was sitting on the couch. I snapped and started yelling at him, telling him I was sick of him doing things like this and to never touch me again. He just gave me this terrifying glare and said, Shut up, you live in my house." After that, I became so afraid of being alone with him that I would stay after school as late as possible until I was practically forced to leave. Whenever I had to go back to the house, I would just hide in my room with the door locked and wouldn't come out until I knew other people were around, terrified that one day he would just try to force himself on me. Fast forward a few months, and I was informed, not asked, that I was going to EK's senior prom with him as his date, which was just a week away. The EPs were ecstatic and told me that we would have the entire house to ourselves that night after we got back from the dance. I immediately shut that down and told them I wasn't going because of how EK treated me. The EPs then spent the rest of the day trying to pressure me into going. First, they tried to bribe me, saying money was no object and they would pay for my dress and ticket. When that didn't work, they tried to guilt trip me, saying they asked so little of me and this was the least I could do and how much EK would love it. Finally, my mom found out about it when she got back from the casino and she was furious with me. She told me I had to go, that it was a huge opportunity for both of us, and that I needed to tell the EPs I had changed my mind. I refused, and the day after EK's prom was over, the EPs sat my mom and me down for a talk. They started laying down new rules, saying they now expected us to contribute to all the household expenses, that we were expected to buy our own groceries, and that they were going to start charging us rent. Before all this, they had been insistent that we shouldn't pay for anything, wanting us to save money to get back on our feet. Even without my mom blowing half or all of her paychecks at the casino, there was no way we could afford what they were demanding. They subsequently gave us a month to find our own place and move out. We ended up moving into a rundown apartment in a sketchy neighborhood with some guy my mom was dating whom she met at the casino. My mom blamed me for the entire situation, saying I ruined a golden opportunity for both of us and that I basically threw away a great future that was all planned out for me because I wouldn't dance and put out. Her words cut me deeply and I still get angry thinking about it to this day. A few months later, I graduated high school, but my mom didn't even bother to show up to the ceremony. When I got back to the apartment, all my belongings were sitting on the curb next to the trash, and they had clearly been rummaged through. I discovered my key no longer worked and no one was answering their phones. I ended up waiting until about 3 in the morning for my mom to come back from the casino, and she told me in no uncertain terms that I was on my own now. Nothing I said changed her mind, and I eventually packed what little was left of my stuff into my car. I spent the next month or two couch surfing or sleeping in my car, trying to work as many shifts as possible. Eventually, I managed to save enough money to move into my first apartment with a roommate. I haven't spoken to my mom or the EP since then, but recently my mom left me a voicemail asking if we could talk, saying she didn't like how things ended between us. Since then, she's been calling me nonstop every day. I have absolutely no intention of ever answering her calls. Looking back on this whole terrible experience, I'm still processing everything, but the incredible support from everyone online has been truly overwhelming and heartwarming. Thank you to each and every person who has read my story and offered words of encouragement. It means more than you know. Being forced to go to prom with your harasser? That's it, line crossed. Where would you draw the line in this situation? Entitled, Mom tries to steal my job opportunity, insulting my weight in the process. This just happened today, so I thought I'd share it while it's fresh in my mind. I'm a female college student, currently home for the summer. The stay-at-home order in my town is gradually being lifted, and some businesses are finally starting to reopen. My parents are requiring me to get a summer job. I'm fortunate enough that I get to keep all the money I earn. They just want me to gain work experience. This will be relevant later, but I'm not a super skinny girl. I also wouldn't consider myself large. I'm 5 feet 6 inches and weigh around 140 to 145 pounds right now, carrying most of it in my hips and thighs. Let's just say the freshman 15 hit me harder than expected, as I used to be closer to 120 pounds. So today, after finishing my last online final exam, my dad called me. He mentioned that a friend of his who runs a local company had texted him, saying they were looking for girls to work in the office, answering phones and doing general office tasks. I was excited because that sounded exactly like the kind of summer job I was hoping for. I quickly got dressed in a nice dress, printed out a copy of my resume, and drove over to the office. The ladies inside were very welcoming and asked me to fill out an application. I sat down in the lobby to complete it, and that's when the entitled mom, EM, entered the scene. Here's a quick cast of characters. EM, entitled mom. E.g., entitled girl, female, probably around 16 years old. P, me, protagonist, DL1, desk lady 1, works at the front desk and is relatively thin, important later. DL2, desk lady 2, works at a desk further back in the room and is plus size, also important later. B, boss of the business, we live in the South, which might be relevant because, unfortunately for these types of front office jobs, there's often an unspoken expectation of hiring a pretty face to greet customers and answer phones. It's awful, I know, but hey, I needed a job. So, as I'm diligently filling out the application, EM walks in with EG. She loudly announces that she's there about the job opening and that her daughter would like to apply. DL1 politely explains that EG will need to fill out an application as well, hands her one and a pen. EM and EG come to sit down in the lobby right next to me, which I found a bit odd, but I didn't say anything. EM, to me in a saccharine tone, are you here for the job as well? P, yes ma'am. EM, hrmf. You know that condescending little noise people make when they want to be dismissive? I ignored her and went back up to DL1 to ask a quick question about the application. It was regarding how professional I should list one of my babysitting references. When I returned to my seat, I noticed EM approaching the front desk. EM, does my daughter really need to fill out this whole application? DL1, it's standard procedure. Boss will review all the applications and decide who to call for an interview. M, is he here? I'm sure if he could just see my daughter, he'd know immediately who he wanted to call. Ha ha. DL1, he is in the office, but he's not currently meeting with unscheduled visitors right now. EM, well, how will he even know who to hire if he doesn't get to see what the girls look like? DL1, well, he'll be looking at their qualifications, their references, and making a few calls before he... EM, no, you don't understand. My daughter is an aspiring model. She won, insert local beauty pageant name, in 2019. He needs to see her to understand that she's the kind of face he wants representing his company, greeting customers, and making a great first impression. DL1, I'm not really sure what you mean. This isn't a modeling job. Appearances aren't really the primary factor here. EM, oh, I know that, technically, but let's be realistic about... Boss isn't going to want At this point, she leans in conspiratorially closer to DL1 and lowers her voice conspiratorially. A chubby girl sitting up here at the front desk, now is he? Throughout this whole exchange, EG is glancing over at me with this smug little smirk on her face as she works on her application, clearly enjoying her mother's antics. This comment, however, caught the attention of DL2 as well as me. We both looked up, completely stunned. DL2, ma'am, I'm really not sure I understand what you're implying. EM, oh, no offense intended. I just know boss personally, and I know he'd prefer a fresh, pretty face around the office. Maybe I'm a bit biased, but I think there's really no comparison between my daughter and, well, this young lady over here, for example, gesturing directly at me. No offense, honey, just trying to save you some time. At this point, I felt tears welling up in my eyes. I couldn't tell if it was pure rage or the sharp sting of her blatant insult, but either way, I was absolutely not going to let this woman see me cry. I quickly stood up, wordlessly handed my completed application to DL1, and turned to leave as fast as possible. DL2, a plus-size woman herself, called out to me, "Sweetie, wait just a moment." Then turning her attention back to EM, DL2 said, "You mentioned you know boss personally, is that right?" Oh yes, we actually went to high school together. DL2, and you know him so well that you are certain he would prefer a thin woman behind this desk? Well, I didn't exactly say that. Yes, she absolutely did, but I would certainly assume it's his preference. DL2, fantastic. Well, for your information, I am his wife and I've worked behind this very desk for almost 15 years now, and as you can plainly see, I could probably stand to lose a few myself, and I take personal offense to what you're implying about my husband and this lovely young woman. So I'm going to have to ask you to please wait for your daughter out in the car while she finishes filling out her application, if she even intends to now. EM and EG both stormed out of the office at that point, thankfully. EG snatched her application off the desk as they left, so I'm not sure if she'll actually submit it or not. But both of the women behind the counter reassured me that EM was a complete nightmare and that they would personally put in a good word for me with the boss. So, fingers crossed that I might actually have a chance at getting the job. Edit. Oh my goodness, my first ever Reddit award. Thank you so much, kind stranger. Update. Wow, you guys are all incredibly kind. Thank you everyone for the awards and all the lovely compliments. I'm honestly overwhelmed by the support. You've all really made my day and cheered me up immensely. A lot of you are asking if I got the job. Well, today I went in for an interview and I just got home. It seemed to go well and they said they would be in touch soon. I'm keeping my fingers crossed and will definitely update you all as soon as I know anything. Update 2. Hey everyone, so I still haven't received a call or email or anything. I'm starting to think maybe they were looking for someone long term and not just for the summer. Sorry to disappoint you all. But if they do end up calling me, I'll be sure to update you again. Seriously? Chubby girl? The nerve of that entitled parent. Des Lady 2 totally shut her down. Subscribe for more entitled parent smackdowns on this channel. What is your favorite type of entitled parent story? Let me know in the comments and have a great day.